Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another video for Fear the Walking Dead, coming off of that huge mid-season finale for Fear the Walking Dead Season 4. In this one, we're going to give our thoughts on whether or not we think a reboot of Fear was really necessary. And spoiler warning, if you guys have not seen the mid-season finale for Fear the Walking Dead Season 4 as of yet. So in this one, I wanted to kind of give our thoughts a little bit more on the whole reboot situation that we're seeing right now with Fear the Walking Dead. And of course, it's not an official reboot, like they're not starting a series over, renaming it something else. But really, when you look at it, it's kind of close to that, because really we're seeing a totally new cast for Fear the Walking Dead. I mean, aside from the three, which we'll get into in maybe a death predictions for the second half of Fear the Walking Dead Season 4, if we even think they're all going to survive out the season, which actually, I'm kind of thinking at this part they probably won't. But, you know, the whole idea with Fear, why they kind of revamped it, they started off Season 4, they brought Morgan in, they brought in other new characters, and they really kind of, which it does still sadden me, and it's not like I'm, you know, making excuses for this. You guys know my position on this, that I would have liked to see, spoiler warning, Madison live on further in Fear the Walking Dead. I felt like, you know, because we followed those characters for the first 3 seasons, they should always kind of be part of the story right up until the end. Otherwise, it really just makes it look like you know, you didn't really have an intention to follow them throughout the zombie apocalypse, or kind of just that, you know, you're scrapping that old story. So I've given my thoughts on all that. You guys know, if you see my videos, rant videos and whatnot this weekend, how upset I was about kind of the direction this first half has taken in killing off both Nick and Madison, and basically vaporizing that old Fear the Walking Dead crew, and only keeping literally a few of them left at this point. And like I said, we don't even know for sure if those certain characters that are still around right now are even going to be around, you know, in a couple years, right? If they get a Fear the Walking Dead Season 5, you know, there's a good chance that these 3 won't all still be alive in Season 5. I still don't think Luciana is going to be a character they're probably going to, you know, keep around for that long, but I could be wrong as far as that goes. So kind of the whole idea about maybe why a reboot of Fear was necessary. I guess it's better than canceling Fear. Like, it's better than if they had just canceled Fear at the end of Season 3, if they decided, well, you know, Frank Delane wanted out and this and that were happening, so we would either cancel it at the end of Season 3 and not do a Season 4 at all, or maybe do like a Season 4 as the last season. So at least we will still have Fear the Walking Dead to continue on, to give us something to watch when the original Walking Dead isn't on. But, you know, the whole thing that I think is most disappointing about this is that I always kind of wanted to see Fear be a series that could stand on its own and didn't just feel like a, you know, filler for the original Walking Dead because it's not on, right? So that's kind of what, you know, I always wanted to see, was something that, and I felt like Season 3 was that. Season 3 was a season where it stood on its own, and it didn't feel or come across like it was just filler for the original series. It felt like it was a series that had meaning, a series that, or a season that had meaning and was doing some really great stuff, and had some really intriguing characters, and had some interesting twists and changes and things that were happening. Good villains with Walker and some of the others there in the second half with Proctor John and the others. I mean, I just felt like Season 3 of Fear the Walking Dead was a really great season. But if you look at it, you know, in terms of like how Fear the Walking Dead has done, it started off super hot at the beginning of the series with 10 million US viewers, and by the time Season 3's finale ended up, it was only at about, you know, 2.2. This season, it started off a little bit better with Season 4 with the whole reboot, a revamp. We're bringing Morgan in what they call the crossover, which we're now kind of calling a takeover, right? So, you know, so it starts off at 4, and then it went to 3, and then 2.7, and then 2.5, 2.4. So it's kind of gone down to, you know, this is strange, right? By the time the mid-season finale has come up here, it's basically gone back to pretty much what it is before, with actually episode 7 of Season 4 after that break week, which was June 3rd, actually being the lowest rated episode, or the lowest viewed episode of the series. So that's very strange to me. So you guys can take a look at the episode guide if you like for yourselves to kind of see how the series did for the first, you know, 3 seasons and now into the 4th. So, I mean, I guess it's like, you know, here's the thing, right? So I still would have preferred them keep Nick and Madison alive if they could have. They killed them off, okay, you know, I would have said, okay, if Nick's going to leave, keep Madison then, because you only have a couple there left from the original crew. The other kind of viewpoint on it is that if you look at the first 3 seasons to the end of season 3, it probably was not performing to where AMC wanted it to. You know, I don't know if Fear the Walking Dead is a series they're going to want to do for 2 million U.S. viewers per episode. Maybe it's okay because you're going to do 16 episodes a year, so that is a lot of episodes to do, and so you're getting that amount times the 16 for a season order, right? But the thing is about this one is, like, I guess what it really comes down to, if Fear the Walking Dead was doing that well to start with, they wouldn't have done this. And I think that season 4 is a good telling that they wanted to try to do more with Fear the Walking Dead than they were. Now, I wanted to see them amalgamate and kind of bring together elements rather than just toss out the old and in with the new. But I guess it is better than a cancellation, I suppose, for Fear. At least Fear can continue in some capacity. I would like to see at least 1 or 2 characters. Like if you go Alecia and Strand surviving in Fear going forward onward until the series eventually ends at some point, I think that would be good if they could at least do that to at least honor those first 3 seasons. Luciana's kind of in the same boat, but with her it's kind of like, you know, they haven't really developed her very much, and I don't know if they're going to either, right? She might just be a character that's just kind of there, right? So we'll see what they do with that. But basically what I'm saying here is maybe it isn't so bad, because I guess the reality is if it was really working well in the 3rd season and it was really going well, they wouldn't have revamped it, right? They wouldn't have changed it around. They wouldn't have done the reboot. They wouldn't have brought Morgan in and done all these different changes. They probably did all this because they kind of realized that the format and the characters of the first 3 seasons of Fear really weren't working all that well anyway. So I guess in a way, you know, I am still upset over the major character deaths and kind of the way the old team or the old show is kind of being almost entirely tossed out here with just a few survivors from it. But at the same time, I guess the reality is if it was really doing well at the end of that season 3, then they probably wouldn't have done any of this, and they probably wouldn't have tried to kind of revamp the show, reboot it. I just think they went a little bit too drastic with it and kind of tossed out those first 3 seasons when they killed off Madison in this mid-season finale. So let me know what you guys think about that point, and whether or not you think the reboot was necessary for Fear, or if they could have just continued on with that initial group and not done the Morgan crossover. Would the series have been able to survive if they'd have lost Nick and killed Nick off? I think, you know, if they would have done that and not done the crossover here, then they probably would have needed Madison alive in the series for at least a little while longer without Nick. But without him, it really begs to question, would the series have made it to a season 5 if they didn't do this reboot? And that's really, I think, the interesting question, and one that you guys can leave a comment on below. I think time will tell how the series will perform with Morgan as its kind of new lead and, you know, scrapping the old kind of group. We'll see in the second half how it does. You know, I would not be surprised if it pretty much does about the same thing it was doing before, because based on the last couple episodes, it looks like that's what, you know, it might do. So interesting stuff, and we'll see what the future holds for Fear. I do hope now that Morgan is in it that it continues on further. But I guess worst case scenario, if Fear did end in a year or 2 or something, they could always have Morgan kind of cross back or something if they really wanted to, right? Rather than leaving the character out there in limbo. He's the one character, I guess, or you could, there's always the fan idea that if Fear ends, you could have his group, whoever he's with, cross over back into the original story, into the original Walking Dead series. But I don't think they have any intention on ending Fear anytime soon. I think their intention was to try to you know, expand it even further and kind of grow it more and have it do more than it was doing. I just kind of wish, you know, if they were going to go this route, that the initial Fear group had some more characters in it that people would relate to better, that you could have survive on into, you know, season 5, 6, 7, whatever, rather than just so few from that initial group. So leave a comment below and let me know what you guys think about this whole reboot, whether or not you think it was necessary for Fear, or if you could envision or see Fear having continued on further with that same kind of format they had in the first 3 years, and whether or not that would have worked and it would have continued. Let me know what you guys think. Jerry M says, where is this honesty with The Walking Dead? Trev won't say he's fed up with the original, even though it's garbage. Well, you know, that's the thing. Like, I get maybe how you're feeling, Jerry, and how a lot of people are feeling with the original Walking Dead series. at this point. You know, I'm not being dishonest with the original Walking Dead when I do my reviews or I do my videos like that. I really did like Season 8. I did like a lot of the stuff they did in it. Them bringing Morales back was really fun. The Carl death, even though the future of the series is going to be like, wow, not sure about that, it certainly was emotional to watch. The scenes with Carl walking with Rick on the farm and that, those pictures of those scenes from the finale, the way they kind of used the dream sequences mixed in there to kind of raise some questions and then sort of answer them. The fight between Simon and Negan was awesome. The final battle of the season was kind of a twist rather than a big all-out fight, but I'm pretty sure the reason why they did that is because of the limitations of what you can do in a TV series. So I really feel like and we saw this in Fear the Walking Dead Season 3 a little bit too, you know, there were some episodes there where they were ambitious, right? You had the zombie herd that came through when they were at the ranch, right? And that was, it was awesome for what we got to see, but they couldn't really show us that much. So with the way I view the episodes too and these series, there are limitations for what they can do, right? And we have to be a little bit realistic with that. If Fear the Walking Dead has a zombie herd come through in one episode, and it isn't like a whole half-season story arc or something like they did in Season 6 of the original Walking Dead, I don't expect to see actual extras times 10,000 of zombies in Fear the Walking Dead. So in Season 3 of Fear, I don't complain about that because I look at it and I say, like, okay, you know, you get it, right? It's one episode, this huge zombie herd comes through, they showed it pretty good and made it look pretty good for how it was done, but of course, you wouldn't be able to make it look as good as the Season 6 first half of the Walking Dead series because that was the focal point, that was the focus, whereas in Fear, that's like one episode, right? So I think we have to look at it and say, too, you know, how much can they do? And I think, as Kim Dickens said, that they film an episode in 8 days, right, for Fear the Walking Dead. I think the original Walking Dead is somewhat similar to that. So there are limitations for what they can do for a TV series versus a movie, right, for the original Walking Dead, as well as Fear as well, too. You know, same kind of deal with Fear. You know, there are limitations. You know, I don't expect certain episodes of The Walking Dead or Fear to look as good as World War Z or something like that with millions of zombies or some crazy thing like that. I think The Walking Dead throughout its run has done a pretty good job of making the environments look really good and you know, making it feel like it is a zombie apocalypse. And Season 8, I think more than anything, the biggest things with Season 8 are the amount of time it took them to translate All Out War, so they stretched it out a while, right? And then also, you know, you get kind of the action throughout, which I think some people did get tired of at the end of the season, just so much action throughout that season, which of course you guys know I'm not going to complain about because I do love to see action in a zombie apocalypse. I think it's really fun to see. They did some car chases and some different things like that, some fights between Rick and Daryl, and they just did a lot of stuff in Season 8 that I get it that people are kind of burned out, zombie fatigue, you know, so there's that, right? But I personally did like Season 8, and that is honesty, right? I'm not BSing you. I did like Season 8. I did, you know, so please don't think that I'm not being honest when it comes to the original Walking Dead series. I do still heavily enjoy the original Walking Dead series. It is still my favorite series on TV. You know, especially this year since, you know, Game of Thrones won't be back until next year. So that's basically where I'm at with it. I haven't gotten fed up to that point with the original Walking Dead yet to do like a super, you know, rant video like that, like I've done with Fear here. But we'll see this season, Season 9, you know. We'll see what this feels like. If they do, in fact, kill Rick off, you know, how is that going to make us feel as viewers? And will that be, you know, will we do a rant video at that point, man? We'll see, you know, Jerry. So it might be up and coming, right? It may be up and coming for this year for the original Walking Dead series. But I did feel like killing off Madison in Fear the Walking Dead was something that they really probably shouldn't do. I still feel that way, and even though I view it as, okay, they're rebooting it, I just thought you could have kept her around in some capacity. But then again, there's other factors at play here too. We don't know how much she was getting paid. We don't know if she was getting like a lead salary. We don't know if she was getting like, you know, comparative to Morgan. How much is he getting paid? How much is she getting paid? I don't know. So there's other factors at play here. There's other things that kind of come in to where it's like if they're paying her a lot of money, then maybe she has to lead the show, and maybe they felt like they wanted to go a different direction because that wasn't working so well. So maybe that has something to do with why they decided to do it as well too. Or like I said in the other video the other day, maybe just a new creative team wanting to create their own creative vision and toss out the old kind of story that was kind of going through there, which is unfortunate, but it does happen. So I hope that makes sense for you, Jerry. I'm not trying to, you know, say that The Walking Dead is perfect, you know, or anything like that. No, far from it. But at the same time, I haven't gotten fed up to that point with the original series yet. as I am with Fear. If they'd have killed Rick off in season 4, I can promise you, of the original Walking Dead, I can promise you I would have done probably some kind of rant video or something about that. Daniel says, I believe Frank abandoned ship before it sunk. And this does bring in some good questions for Frank Delane, who played Nick in Fear the Walking Dead, whether or not he knew that Madison was going to be killed off or something of the sort. I would have thought that because this episode was prior, he would not have known that, and he would have been, penciled in to be killed off first, and then probably would be surprised that they killed Madison off afterwards. But I bet, and I don't really blame him so much now for leaving, because they did kill Madison off, so maybe he just got the sense that they were really just going to revamp the whole show. Maybe he wasn't okay with that, right? Maybe he was not okay with the reboot, the revamping of the whole series, Morgan coming in and kind of stealing the show kind of thing. So maybe once he got wind of all these things happening, and he had already kind of been wanting to maybe get out of the series anyway, or question how long is the series going to go on for, because it has gone on for several years, and maybe he just wasn't feeling it anymore. But then once they started bringing all this other stuff, maybe it made sense for him to be killed off in that way. I don't know. Maybe the Madison death had something to do with this whole thing. I don't know. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with that one. But I don't blame him so much now, considering what we're seeing happen afterwards. To be honest with you, if they'd have killed Madison off and he was still alive, if Nick was still alive at the end of season 4, he probably would have wanted to leave in season 5 anyway. So sooner or later, he probably would have wanted to leave. And with them kind of scrapping the old series, it certainly... it makes sense, and I don't blame him so much now for seeing kind of how everything has changed so much drastically. John C. says, Morgan doesn't do crossovers. Obviously, he does takeovers. So that one was from him. So I said that one earlier. So that's from John C. I got to give him credit for that one. That's good. I like that. It's true, right? Raymon Pizarro says, Trev, love the videos, bro. Totally agree. Man, one question is, what in the hell is happening? So is Alecia the lead now? So, that's a good question with Fear. Who's the lead of Fear right now? I would have to say Morgan. I would have to say with Madison being killed off, that pretty much sets it up so that Morgan is the lead. I don't really see Alecia as a series lead. I don't see her... Okay, let me ask you guys this question. Who will be on the cover of the Blu-ray DVD for Fear the Walking Dead Season 4? I think it'll be Morgan. For Fear the Walking Dead Season 5, if we get one, probably still be Morgan, right? So that's the thing. It's really been rebooted to Morgan and Friends. You keep Alecia on and a couple of the others on, but really, I think that has a lot to do with the whole Madison Morgan thing here, where it was like maybe they didn't want to have confusion over who the lead was. They want to make it clear that okay, the old Fear is done, it's ending here, and now we have Morgan continuing on as the lead character for Fear. He's basically been given his own series at this point. So he deserves it, I guess. It's true. I just feel sad for Kim Dickens and sad for the others that started off Fear and continued it on through those 3 years and probably had the understanding it could have gone on further, and it probably would have. And it just saddens me that it won't. We won't get to see that. But maybe that wouldn't have worked anyway. So you guys can leave those comments below and speculate on what you think and how that would have gone, and whether or not it would have just gotten canceled anyway because people weren't really feeling it. Because I do know that the action figures I've seen for Fear the Walking Dead were not selling at all. Like the Travis figure, Madison figure, still there. So, I don't know. It's kind of one of those type of things too, right? It's like, now is that a good representation of how people feel about the character in the show? Not entirely, but at the same time, it's like, I get it. Maybe you want to have that action hero at the front, and people just didn't gravitate towards Madison the same way as they would towards Morgan. So, okay, you get it. We get it. Mostly Day Hiking says, I know it's just a silly TV show, but this bothered me all day. LOL. And, yeah, I guess we'll pretty much wrap up with maybe one more after this one. So, yeah, exactly, right? It's a TV series, and some people are like, why are you getting so upset? It's a TV series, right? But for myself, too, doing the rant videos and stuff like that is because we put a lot of time into the show. Like, we watch the show for years. We enjoy the show. We have sort of an idea of where we think they're going with the show. And a lot of us, kind of want to see that happen or go through. And we don't necessarily want to be disappointed in that way where they kill off a lot of our favorite characters or kill off characters that we thought had a lot of potential. And that's the thing with Fear that's bothered me so much is it's not just killing one character. It's really kind of killing off that whole first 3 seasons. And that's what saddens me the most. So I know what we're basically seeing is a reboot or a switch here in the series. So it is what it is, but I did feel like they could have honored the prior series a little bit more by at least keeping Madison alive. But what can you do? A lot of factors at play here, and yeah, so leave a comment below, guys. Let me know what you think. But it certainly bothered me too, mostly day hiking, so it wasn't just you. PoxyBear says Gimple and his pet showrunners wanted to turn Fear into the Morgan Jones spinoff, and that's what they've been setting up in 4A. And yeah, you know, it's a bit of a tug of war, I think, and I kind of knew going in that it would be that, because Morgan is one of my all-time favorite characters for The Walking Dead. Lenny James does an incredible job. Of course, nothing against him for how this whole thing has kind of gone down. And he even said, too, on Talking Dead that he was a bit upset that he didn't get a chance to work with Kim Dickens as Madison because he thought he was going to be able to. And he didn't know that's how it was going to go, right? So that surprised him as well, too. It sounds like he was as shocked at the death as any of us, because that's what he was looking forward to. And I think, you know, him being, from what we've seen over the years in interviews and that, kind of a pretty good guy, a gentleman, right, English and stuff, I would think that he probably wouldn't have wanted to come in and just take over the whole damn show. That probably wasn't his... you know, wasn't his vision, I wouldn't think, of what to do with Fear, because I'm sure he would have probably watched it through before he, you know, transitioned into it. And he probably would have thought that more he would be there to help the series continue and support it and be a part of it rather than, you know, take over as lead. But with Madison being killed off, I mean, that's, you know, it being like a Morgan and Friends spin-off series, it's like, yeah, you know, I get it totally. That's kind of what it's become. And you have Alecia there and Strand there, Luciana there, but that just more feels like they're support characters to him, right? They're just kind of add-ins with him being there, and then you have John, who's got some similarities to Rick, right? So maybe you put him in there as well too. And it's like, yeah, you know, it's interesting to see what they're going to do, but at the same time, I am a little bit disappointed that it in the end, at least at this point right now, it turned out to be more of a takeover than a crossover. It turned out to be more of a recreating a new series than helping to grow the existing series. It was more of a destructive teardown of the old show that to create a new show than it was to kind of you know, add to it and build it up further. It was tear it down and start more anew, and that's mostly what we've seen here. But let's hope that Alecia survives on for a while and that she gets you know, quite a bit of time in the series, because otherwise it will be totally like those first 3 seasons are basically useless. So let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments below. Let me know how you're feeling about the whole reboot idea. Was it necessary? Is it something that they really had to do because the initial Fear wasn't working? What are your thoughts on this one here? Or are you devastated and very upset that they had to, that they felt that they should do this and they did it, rather than having the old Fear the Walking Dead continue on in some way? Let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments below, and if you like this video, please thumb it up below. You can also share, you can favorite, and if you're new and you want to subscribe to the channel, bottom left to subscribe. So for this one, guys, we'll see you again soon for another. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.